Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about in this section is law of cosines. Again, it's something you've done in geometry, hopefully. I know some of you are doubling up and you may not have made it here, but it's just another formula. The thing about law of cosines is it's conceptually easier, in my opinion. It's just a lot more algebra involved in using the formula. So if you're given, so side A, okay, is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. Okay, so if b squared is out here, then you have a squared, c squared minus 2ac cosine B, and c squared would be a squared plus b squared minus 2bc cosine 2ab cosine c. So the thing that I want you to notice here, the big thing that I need you to get from this, is that whatever side is out here, then the angle has to be here, and then the other two just fill in the gaps, the other two sides. Okay, so don't try and memorize this like 3 different formulas. It's the same formula, it's just a matter of what side you're looking for or what angle you're looking for. Okay, so notice the side, ABC on the outside, angle ABC. Okay, so don't overcomplicate. All right, so find each missing measure, round all answers to the nearest tenth. So if I'm looking for x squared, I have the angle x, so it's the other two sides square, so 23 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 23 times 9 cosine of the side that I'm looking for is angle, which is 71 degrees. Okay, now a lot of students key this in wrong, so I'm going to show you several times on the calculator the keystrokes to key this in. So I would do 23 squared is 529, so I have x squared is equal to 529, and of course we know 9 squared is 81 minus, and then I would do this all in the calculator. So 2 times 23 times 9 times cosine of 71. So 134.79. Okay, so we don't want to round this, so we're going to do this in the calculator. So I'm going to do 529 plus my 81 minus second answer, which is this answer here, and that gives me approximately 47.21 475.21. I knew that wasn't right. Okay, and so again, we're not going to round until the very end, so I'm going to do second square root, second answer, because if you round here and then you round here and then you round here, your answer is not going to be accurate anymore. Okay, so I'm going to do second answer, and I get 21.8, so approximately 21.8, and it doesn't give me any units. It doesn't tell me feet, inches, or anything like that. Okay, so we'll do it again. So notice I'm looking for the side opposite my angle. This is always going to have to be true for using law of cosines, or you have all 3 sides and you're looking for a particular angle. That's the only way law of cosines works. So I mentioned this in the last video talking about the axioms. So a lot of people like to do those axioms in geometry, like law of sines works for this and law of cosines works for this. But for me, law of cosines is very easy. It either you have all 3 sides and you're looking for an angle, or you have the angle of the side you're looking for. That's pretty much the only way that works. Okay? So let's get this one set up. So we have our x squared on the outside, our other 2 sides squared, so 15 and 17 minus 2 times my other two sides times cosine of the angle, 39. Okay? So again, we're going to type this in the calculator. It just depends on how you like to do your keystrokes. So 17 squared and 15 squared, you should know, is 225. So 289 plus 225 minus, and you could go ahead and add those together if you wanted. So you could do, because you do it in order from left to right, so we could go ahead and do that. Let's do that this time. So let's do 289 plus 225. Just caused me one less step here in just a second. 514 minus all of this multiplied together. So 2 times 17 times 15 times cosine of 39. 396.3. But we're not actually going to round. So we're going to do 514 minus second answer so that we're not actually rounding. We get 117.7. And then we're going to square root both sides. And we get x is approximately equal to, so again, we're not going to round. We're going to do second square root, second answer, enter. And we get 10.8. Okay, so this is the same way. You have to just draw your triangle. I'm going to draw the triangle with you, but I'm not going to worry about working out the problem. It's the same exact thing. I just want to make sure that you can draw the triangle on your own. So it doesn't matter how you label your A, B, and C as long as you label your parts correctly. So angle B is 106, side AB is 10, side BC is 7, and they want us to find side AC, which is the same thing as B. So once we have it set up like this, we can see it's set up just like number 1 and number 2. So let's look at number 4. So number 4 is different. We're finding an angle. The awesome thing about law of cosines is there is no ambiguous case. The answer is what you get. You don't have to check anything. It just is what it is. Okay, so you don't have to subtract from anything or double check. It's just the answer. Okay, so if I'm looking for this angle, remember this side has to be on the outside. So x8 squared is equal to the other two sides squared minus 2 times the other two sides times cosine of the angle I'm looking for, which in this case is x. Okay, so 8 squared, 64, 121, and 100. And then minus, I'm going to do 2 times 11 times 10, which is 220. So we need to get cosine x on a side by itself. So I need to do 64. I'm going to go ahead and add these two together. So I have 64, 221 minus 220 cosine x. So if I'm going to get cosine x by itself, I need to subtract 221 from both sides. So I have 64 minus 221, negative 157, equals negative 220 cosine x. So I need to divide by negative 220. So I have cosine of x is equal to 157 over 220. Now, just like when we're finding an angle measure with sine, with cosine, we want to do cosine inverse of 157 over 220, and that's going to give me x. So x is approximately equal to, so we'll go to our calculator, second cosine, gives you see the inverse, and that would be 157 divided by 220, because two negatives make a positive, right? That gives me approximately 44.5 degrees. Okay. Alright, so let's look at the next one. So same thing. So if this is the angle I'm looking for, this is the side that has to be on the outside. So 16 squared is equal to the other two sides squared minus 2 times the other two sides times cosine of the angle I'm looking for. Okay, so 16 squared, 256, equals 25 plus 169 minus 2 times 5 times 13, 130 cosine x. So 256 is equal to 25 plus 169, 194 minus 130 cosine x. So I'm going to subtract 194. So we have 256 minus 194, 62 equals negative 130 cosine x. So divide by negative 130 and we get cosine x is equal to 62 divided by negative 130. So we're going to do cosine inverse of 62 divided by negative 130 is equal to x. So x is approximately equal to, so I'm going to do second inverse cosine of 62 divided by negative 130, and we get approximately 118.5 degrees. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at a word problem. So the only thing about word problems is just reading it to make sure that you can set up the triangle, because once you have your diagram, it's just like the rest of the problems. So you have Maple Street, Oak Drive, and West Avenue intersect to form a triangular piece of land. Okay, so I'm going to call this Maple, Oak, and West. The angle formed by Maple and Oak, so the angle formed, so if this is Maple and this is Oak, right? I mean, this is Oak and this is Maple. Well, I guess I should probably label this a little differently so it makes sense. So we're going to call this Maple, Oak, and West. Okay? Maybe that'll make a little bit better sense, because I'm afraid I'm going to confuse you. Okay, so the angle formed by Maple and Oak, which would be here, is 79 degrees. If Maple's street section is 390 feet, so Maple is equal to 390 feet, and Oak is 250 feet, find the length of West. So I'm looking for West. So I have the angle across from West and the other two sides, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. So West squared is equal to the other two sides squared minus 2 times the other two sides times cosine of the angle, which is 79. So West squared, so I'm going to go ahead and combine these because this is going to be a big number. So 390 squared plus 250 squared. 214,600 minus 2 times 250 times 390 times cosine of 79. Approximately 37 to, oh no, it's an exact, so we can do that. 37,207.5 0.7541. Okay, so we can do 214 600 minus second answer, and we get 177 392.2459. And so to get W, I'm going to square root both sides. So I'm going to do second square root second answer, 421.2 feet. Okay. All right, so if you'll look in the packet provided on page 8, I want you to do number 1. Number 1, number 4, number 6, and number 7. The answer key is provided. You can practice any of the problems that you want to. You don't have to necessarily practice these. This is just one side, one angle. And drawing a triangle, and then a word problem yourself. So it's just kind of one of each type, but feel free to practice whatever you feel like you need to, okay?